UFOs over airports, volcanoes, and capital cities, these real sightings may prove we're not alone and never were. It was a quiet evening in downtown Los Angeles when a rooftop security camera picked up something that shouldn't have been there. Hovering above the skyline, barely making a sound, was a dark triangular object outlined by glowing lights. The footage quickly made its way online, sparking a storm of speculation. The triangle didn't blink, sway, or drift like a drone. It held position with eerie precision. Then, without warning, it rotated slowly and moved away in a smooth, calculated motion, far too steady and silent for any known aircraft. What makes this sighting especially strange is that it happened right above one of the most watched and filmed cities in the world. If this had been a drone or aircraft, someone would have claimed responsibility. But no government, no company, no individual stepped forward. Some believe it's part of a secret military test, perhaps reverse-engineered from something not of this Earth. Others think it's linked to the infamous black triangle crafts reported for decades, objects so advanced they leave even veteran pilots speechless. Analyzing the video frame by frame shows no visible propulsion system, no wings, no rotors, nothing that should make it fly. Still, it moved like it was defying gravity itself. The shape matches other triangle sightings from Belgium in the 90s and Illinois in 2000. Are these crafts part of a single global mystery? If so, who's really flying them? And why are they showing up above our cities? Whatever this thing was, it left behind no sound, no smoke, no trail, just questions. Just weeks after the Roswell crash, another strange object appeared, this time over the blazing skies of Phoenix, Arizona. William Rhodes, a local scientist and photographer, saw a disc-shaped craft circling silently overhead. He ran for his camera and snapped two clear black-and-white photos before the object zipped out of sight. What's wild is that these photos weren't just shrugged off, they were quickly taken by military investigators and Rhodes was questioned in detail. His photos showed a curved, finless object that didn't match any known aircraft from that era. What adds weight to this case is its timing. The summer of 1947 was swarming with UFO reports across the country. But few had actual photographic proof like this. Even now, decades later, these images haven't been debunked. They've shown up in military documents, official memos, and even leaked into public archives. Some researchers believe what Rhodes captured was an early surveillance vehicle, just not one of ours. If that's true, then whatever was flying above Phoenix that day was already ahead of anything we'd built at the time. Right above the Vatican's sacred skyline where history, religion, and mystery intersect, something unusual appeared in 2021. A strange glowing orb hovered in the clouds behind the dome of St. Peter's Basilica. Not just a glimmer or reflection. This was a solid spherical form casting its own color and light. Just when the sky seemed calm, it drifted slowly across the skyline, visible to anyone who happened to look up at the right moment. What stunned observers wasn't just its shape or color, but how out of place it looked in a city where every inch of the sky is monitored. This wasn't a bird, drone, or balloon. The object didn't waver or flicker, and it didn't behave like anything common. It glowed with a faint hue, some said bluish, others saw gold, and held steady in place before fading out without a trace. The location adds another level to the mystery. The Vatican has long been the subject of speculation when it comes to space and the unknown. Its observatory in Arizona studies deep space and whispers about secret documents hidden in the Vatican archives never seem to die down. Could it be that whatever appeared over the Vatican that day wasn't random? Was it a sign, a message, or something far more advanced quietly observing the most guarded seat of spiritual power on Earth? Whatever that orb was, it didn't belong there. And no one, not officials, not the church, gave an answer. Just like that, the sky closed again, and the questions stayed. It was supposed to be just another morning for a Peruvian TV crew filming a lifestyle segment in Lima. But behind the presenter something began to shift in the sky, strange dots, gleaming and suspended in perfect formation. At first, no one noticed. Then, the crew turned to look. Above them was a small fleet of unidentified flying objects, arranged in a tight group, slowly drifting over the city's skyline. They weren't planes, they weren't birds, and they definitely weren't floating debris. What made this sighting so unique was the number of witnesses. Dozens of passers-by stopped and stared. Local journalists and UFO researchers showed up within hours. The objects held their shape, moved with unnatural synchronization, and stayed visible for an extended time in broad daylight. Some said it felt almost like they were being watched from above. Lima isn't new to this. The region is steeped in ancient legends about beings from the sky. Peru has some of the highest numbers of reported sightings in South America, whether it's the Nazca lines or the massive geoglyphs seen only from the air. Many believe this land has long had a connection to something not from here. Was this fleet over Lima just another chapter in that connection, or a direct demonstration for all to see? No military aircraft responded, no agency stepped in. The sky filled with watchers, and then they vanished as calmly as they came. Thousands of people pass through Chicago O'Hare every day. But on November 7, 2006, something happened above Gate C-17 that shook even the most seasoned airport workers. Several employees reported seeing a metallic disc silently hovering above the terminal just beneath the cloud ceiling. Pilots, baggage handlers, and airline supervisors all described the same thing: an object with a smooth, dark body, no wings, no sound, and no explanation. What's more chilling is what it did next. After hovering for several minutes, the craft shot upward with such force that it punched a clean hole through the clouds. Witnesses said the gap in the sky remained visible for several minutes, yet no radar picked it up. No official explanation was ever given, and aviation authorities quickly downplayed the event. What makes the O'Hare incident stand out is its setting: a major airport with restricted airspace, constant monitoring, and tight regulations. How could something so clearly visible evade detection? Why were those who spoke up discouraged from discussing it? Many now believe this was more than just a flyover. It was a controlled observation, a quiet show of presence right over one of the busiest places in the country, and like so many other encounters, it left behind no trace, just disbelief, silence, and sky. Jerusalem's ancient skyline, where spirituality and history collide, became the center of something unexplainable one quiet night in 2011. Above the golden dome of the rock, a glowing orb appeared in the sky. It wasn't faint, it hovered with intent, brilliant white, pulsing gently. Then in a blink it dropped straight down toward the dome, paused just above it, and in a flash of light that lit up the entire sky, it shot back upward at impossible speed. What makes this sighting so hard to ignore is the location. The Dome of the Rock isn't just sacred, it's monitored, guarded, and constantly under surveillance. The object's movement wasn't random, it was deliberate. Some say it was a kind of scanning or data collection. Others think it was a display, a silent, powerful message. And this wasn't a single witness event. It was seen by people in different parts of the city, from various angles, all describing the same thing. Skeptics tried to dismiss it as camera tricks, but the sheer number of matching reports makes that hard to swallow. Why Jerusalem? Why one of the holiest sites in the world? Was it a warning, a visit, or just a glimpse at how often we're being watched without knowing? Either way, that flash above the dome burned itself into the minds of all who saw it, and to this day, no one has provided an answer that holds up. Popocatépetl is one of Mexico's most active volcanoes and, strangely, one of its most active UFO hotspots. In 2020, a massive cylindrical object was spotted entering the crater at full speed. Captured by a permanent volcano monitoring camera, the object glowed with intensity and moved too fast to be a bird, drone, or plane. It didn't crash, it just disappeared inside the volcano as if it belonged there. This wasn't a one-time event. Over the years, dozens of unexplained objects have been seen flying into and out of this volcano. It's become so common that local media no longer treats it as shocking. But this 2020 sighting stood out. It was clear, large, and direct. Some believe there's something beneath the mountain, a base, a hidden facility. Even ancient legends from nearby communities tell of sky beings connected to Popocatépetl. Why would something that advanced head straight into an erupting volcano? That's the part no one can answer. Unless, of course, it wasn't trying to avoid the eruption, it was going home. In 1996, during the Space Shuttle Columbia's STS-75 mission, NASA astronauts deployed a long experimental tether into space, over 12 miles long. But something unexpected happened. The tether snapped and drifted away. As cameras focused on it, something appeared in the background. Then dozens, then hundreds. Bright circular objects floating behind the tether, pulsing, shifting, moving with intelligence. NASA called them debris or ice particles. But to many watching, these weren't random chunks of anything. The objects seemed to pulsate, grow and shrink, and maintain a consistent rounded shape. Some even changed direction. The footage quickly became one of the most debated pieces of space material in UFO history. Were these objects already surrounding Earth? Were they monitoring the mission, or was the tether simply a lure that exposed what's really moving silently through our orbit? To this day, no clear explanation has been offered. What's certain is that for a few minutes the cameras caught something NASA didn't expect, and maybe didn't want us to see. In December 2009, Moscow's skies became the scene of one of the strangest urban UFO sightings ever recorded. A massive pyramid-shaped object was spotted floating directly above the Kremlin, the heart of Russian political power. It wasn't speeding, blinking, or trailing smoke, it hovered. Silent, motionless, spinning slowly, almost deliberately. Eyewitnesses from various parts of the city described the same thing, a dark geometric structure hanging over Red Square like something out of a science fiction film. What's even more baffling is the size. Estimates suggest the object was nearly a mile wide, far too large to be any known drone or aircraft. Some videos show it slowly rotating in place, suspended as if unaffected by gravity. Others captured it at a different angle, still unmoving, still silent. It didn't blink or pulse like a balloon caught in the wind. It held its shape with an eerie stillness. The Russian government made no official statement, and state media quickly moved on. But the people who saw it didn't forget. Many believe this was a show of force, or a reminder. The choice of location couldn't have been more symbolic. The Kremlin, the very center of geopolitical power. Whatever hovered there that night wasn't ordinary, and it left behind no answers, only silence and sky. Among the most puzzling military UFO sightings ever declassified is the so-called Teardrop object, captured in a black and white infrared image by a US reconnaissance jet. The photo, kept classified for years, shows a glowing, crescent-shaped object suspended high above the Atlantic Ocean. It wasn't drifting, it wasn't breaking up, it held a sharp, defined shape, and appeared to be emitting its own heat signature, unlike anything natural or known in aviation. What makes this case even more compelling is the military context. The photo was included in a set of unclassified intelligence reports released in 2023, connected to ongoing investigations by the Pentagon's UAP task force. There was no radar track, no identification, just an object behaving in ways no known craft should, stationary at extreme altitude, and completely immune to jet wash or weather effects. Some theorists believe this teardrop wasn't flying at all, it was stationed, like a sentry or a probe. Others suggest it's part of a broader network of monitoring devices, constantly watching from just above where our jets can fly. The eerie glow in the infrared image adds to its mystery. Some claim it's the heat signature of an active engine, but with no trail, no sound, and no movement, it's impossible to say. This isn't a grainy light in the distance, it's a clear shape. A real object, photographed by trained personnel and quietly filed away, until now. And if this is just one of the images they're letting the public see, what else is still locked behind classified stamps? It was a quiet morning in Great Falls, Montana, when Nicholas Mariana, the general manager of the local baseball team, looked up and saw two bright silvery objects moving swiftly through the sky. With a 16mm color camera in hand, he captured something that would become one of the most studied UFO films in US history. The footage shows two rotating disc-like shapes cruising across the sky in broad daylight, clear, fast, and steady. This wasn't a story passed down by word of mouth or hidden in hearsay. The film exists, and it was sent directly to the US Air Force for analysis. Investigators at the time admitted the objects were unknowns. Unlike later attempts to brush off similar sightings, this one received serious attention. Project Blue Book, the Air Force's official UFO program, kept it in its files for years. It was even shown in the 1956 documentary UFO, marking one of the first times the public got a real look at something unidentified and officially acknowledged. Skeptics tried to explain the objects as reflections from jets, but Mariana had filmed those same skies before, and nothing he'd seen compared to what showed up on that reel. The speed, brightness, and synchronized motion of the two objects didn't match anything flying at the time, and this was 1950, long before modern drones or digital effects. What makes this case so powerful is its simplicity. Clear footage, a credible witness, immediate military interest, and no real answer. 70 years later, the film still holds up, still raises eyebrows, and still makes people wonder, what exactly did he catch above the plains of Montana that day? Paris, one of the most photographed cities in the world, became the unexpected stage for a modern mystery in 2010. On a clear afternoon, Tourists snapping photos of the Eiffel Tower noticed something strange hovering nearby. A dark, disc-like object suspended in the sky, motionless and silent. The shape was too defined to be a cloud, too steady to be a bird, and too far out of place to be ignored. Several people captured it from different angles, and the object was visible in more than one image, always in the same position, always keeping its distance. What made this event especially eerie was how unnoticed it seemed in the moment. No sound, no trail, no disruption. Only later, when photos were reviewed, did people begin to realize something unexplainable had entered the frame. Experts examined the images and dismissed lens flares and reflections. The object had a solid edge, a real shadow, a physical presence. Why the Eiffel Tower? Some think it's the symbolism. Iconic locations seem to attract attention, especially from above. Others speculate the object was observing, perhaps scanning, blending into a place where the sky is constantly filled with balloons, helicopters, and planes. But this wasn't any of those. It came, it hovered, and it vanished. No explanations, no claims of responsibility, just an unidentified object floating above the most recognized landmark in Europe, captured forever by unsuspecting tourists who had no idea their vacation photo might hold something truly otherworldly. In the heart of a war zone where every inch of airspace is tracked, watched, and locked down, something silently slipped through. In 2016, over Mosul, Iraq, a US military drone captured footage of a strange metallic sphere moving calmly through the sky. No visible wings, no heat signature, no exhaust. It just floated, steady, controlled, deliberate. In 2023, this footage was officially released by the Pentagon's AARO division, confirming its authenticity. What makes the Mosul Orb so unique is the context. This wasn't rural farmland or a quiet desert, it was an active combat zone monitored by some of the most advanced surveillance tech on Earth. And still, no one could explain it. It didn't trigger alerts, didn't respond to tracking systems, and didn't behave like any aircraft, military or civilian. Military analysts had no answers. The object didn't match any known drone profile, and it seemed to move with intelligence, not randomness. Some theories claim it's a foreign surveillance tool, while others point to its eerily similar behavior to past orb sightings around nuclear facilities and sensitive areas. Why would something like this be calmly navigating a conflict zone, observing, testing, or simply making itself known in plain sight during one of the most heavily documented wars in modern times? The Pentagon called it unresolved. For the rest of us, it raises a deeper question. If these spheres are watching our wars, what else are they watching? Off the coast of Santiago in 2014, the Chilean Navy encountered something they couldn't explain. A military helicopter flying a standard daytime patrol mission spotted a long, dark object moving swiftly through the sky. When viewed through the onboard infrared camera, the shape was clear, a sleek, cigar-like craft gliding without wings, sound, or any visible propulsion. But what truly shocked the crew was the trail it appeared to leave behind. A discharge of some kind, visible only in thermal imaging. Not smoke, not vapor, something else. The object wasn't detected on radar, no transponder, no response to radio calls. The pilots tracked it for nearly 10 minutes, watching it shift speeds and angles effortlessly. Twice, it released a strange burst, something hot enough to show up on infrared, yet completely invisible to the eye. To this day, no one knows what it was made of, or how it moved like that. Chile's government didn't hide it. The footage was handed over to CFAA, their official Aerial Anomalies Committee, and in 2017, it was made public with full transparency. Experts from multiple fields, aviation, physics, military, reviewed the data. None could identify it. They ruled out weather balloons, aircraft, drones, or debris. That elongated shape has since shown up in sightings across the globe, always in restricted zones, always acting just beyond what we consider possible. The Chilean Navy's encounter stands as one of the clearest, most detailed official UFO cases released by any country. Whatever that object was, it didn't come to play. It came to be seen. And then, just like that, it was gone. On the night of March 13, 1997, something massive passed silently over Arizona. Thousands of people from Phoenix to Tucson looked up and saw a giant V-shaped formation of lights moving across the sky. It wasn't fast, it wasn't loud, it just glided, slow, steady, and so huge that it reportedly blocked out stars as it passed overhead. Some saw 5 lights, others counted 7, but nearly everyone agreed on one thing: this wasn't a plane, a helicopter, or anything familiar. The first wave of sightings began around 7:55 p.m. near Henderson, Nevada, and continued for hours as the object traveled southeast across Arizona. Eyewitnesses described it as being the size of multiple football fields, completely silent and flying unusually low. One witness said it felt like a living thing. Another said it was close enough to touch. None of the major military bases in the area took credit. There were no warnings, no alerts, just silence. Later that evening, the official explanation was that the lights were flares dropped by the Air National Guard during training exercises. But that explanation came weeks after the incident, and it didn't match what most people saw. Flares don't maintain perfect formation. They don't hover silently across hundreds of miles. They don't block out the stars in a clean triangular pattern. To this day, the Phoenix Lights remain one of the most widely seen and reported UFO events in U.S. history. July 11, 1991. A total solar eclipse darkens the sky over Mexico City, and thousands gather to witness the rare celestial event. But as people look up, something unexpected appears, hovering lights, bright, round, and in a deliberate pattern. First seen near the city's skyline, the orbs don't flicker like stars or shift like balloons. They remain fixed in a geometric formation, quietly observing. The objects weren't just noticed by a few, they were spotted by crowds, families, even broadcast cameras capturing the eclipse. For years, the incident has been connected to ancient predictions and theories about celestial alignments triggering extraterrestrial activity. But for most who saw it, it wasn't about mythology, it was about reality. Thousands of people looking up at the same time saw something the government still can't explain. The eclipse was expected. The UFOs were not. A U.S. Customs and Border Protection plane was conducting a routine patrol near Rafael Hernandez Airport in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. Using infrared tracking, the crew noticed a fast-moving object approaching the runway. At first, it seemed like a drone, but the object's movements were far from ordinary. It flew at high speeds, made sharp turns, and at one point, split into two separate bodies before plunging into the ocean without slowing down. The event wasn't leaked by conspiracy theorists. It was analyzed and shared by the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, a team of military aviation and physics experts. After months of analysis, they concluded the object was a genuine, unidentified aerial phenomenon with flight capabilities beyond modern technology. Whatever it was, it moved through the air and into the sea with complete confidence, like it had done it 1,000 times before. That's about it. Have you ever seen a UFO in person? Let me know in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.